And the best way is like through the relationships that are closest to us. I
Mhm.
will pause there because I could keep going forever on self-leadership.
But that is a couple of things that I picked up is what moved you to be in the position you are in right now wasn't perhaps something pleasant. Wasn't someone saying, hey, you're shiny, you're doing an amazing job, kudos to you, and the pat in the back. Is someone saying, hey, I see this and I don't know how you're going to take it, but this is
Mhm.
how I feel it. And then you having the ability to say, okay, this will be my opportunity to be better. So I know feedback sometimes. I work with leaders a lot,
Mhm.
especially technical leaders. And then the ego comes in a lot of the times,
Yeah.
very so present. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when are you watching us. And thank you for being part of the Material Business Podcast. My name is Monica Hernandez, and I have a really special guest today. Rasie, thank you so much for being with us.
It is my pleasure to be here, Monica. Thank you for having me.
So we were introduced by a mutual friend. So one of those things of collaboration, networking, how can we get a community, how this community can be better. So we are very grateful to Stefan
Yes.
for the
What up?
introduction. um, Now, like I told you this before we started, I want to empower people to introduce themselves, and then the ones that are always ready to go are the ones that are the entrepreneurs and representing, that realm. So I'll let you fly with it. Introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Yeah, no worries. It's like we're constantly introducing ourselves all the time, especially at networking events, right? And being new in a community. So my name's Rasie. I was born in Sierra Leone, and my ancestors actually came from Guinea and resettled into Sierra Leone. And I moved to Canada on refugee status as a result of the civil war in Sierra Leone, and I'm currently residing in on the Sunshine Coast, Seychelles nations. And I so on a day-to-day basis, I do leadership coaching where I support corporate leaders in leading their teams more effectively through self-leadership. And I do this in collaboration with organizations and with companies, and also one-on-one with leaders. And then I also do book coaching where I support aspiring authors from idea to publishing and everything in between. So basically, the book construction process, from A to Z. And I've written and published my own books as well on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. And they're both bestsellers: Lead in Your Truth and Heal on Your Terms. My third book will be out in a few weeks. I can't wait. It's my memoir and first of the series. Um, and recently, myself and my team have fully pressed start on our nonprofit. It's a youth leadership training society called RB Jumpstart Mentorship. And what we do is we empower youth to take control of their lives and really provide them with that foundation where they're able to go back into the community and contribute from what they're learning. And it's that sustainable approach, a full 360, right? It just continues, a ripple effect as well. Thank you for having me, Monica.
My God, this is great. It is really nice to hear, a lot when I will go to events or um, it's difficult for people to imagine that you can do more than one thing at a time. So it's like, oh, you are an entrepreneur. Oh, but you also have a podcast. Oh, but you also are like where, like how, and how those things relate to each other. And I always find that they are so relatable. But a lot of people struggle with the idea that you can be more than one thing at a time. And I guess that comes from the idea that we are what we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's amazing to have a fellow multi doer and being
Yeah. Yeah.
in several areas and saying, hey, it is completely possible. We have, and there are so many commonalities that make these areas successful because I have that other background.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for being here and bringing all that with you. I'll
It is
start.
my pleasure. Yeah.
I'll start with perhaps the latest initiative because that is where sustainability comes from.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to leave to our next generations, how do we are preparing, how are we taking, like every time that I go into stage, that's my pitch, is like, how are we taking decisions today that
Mm-hmm.
are going to ensure the younger generations have something to work with, or
Mm-hmm.
a better future for themselves, for then the continuation.
Yeah.
So where did that idea come from?
So before, I definitely want to echo on what you're saying with like having multiple different things that we're doing. I recently put out a post on LinkedIn and on Instagram of the idea that I refuse to be in one box. And I think I know a lot of women will relate to this, where always it's like, oh, this is the one thing that you do. And I hear from so many people, even in the business community, and they'll ask the question, what is your thing? I can have multiple things, and that is okay. As long as I'm clear on what I'm doing and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I'm adding more value to my community and to the world. That's what it comes down to. So it's an honor and a pleasure to live on purpose. I just wanted to echo on that. And with the Youth Leadership Training Society, in 2013, I had this like idea of going back home to Sierra Leone and doing some work with youth. I didn't know what it would be. And it was just like an idea. I was like, I could go back and just like volunteer for a whole year and just do that. And then fast forward to 2017, I was taking this course called Presentations in at Keanu College in Fort McMurray. You're probably familiar with the name of the college. And what I presented on was how I will go about doing my project within the 365 days. I still was undecided, is it going to be housing, education, or food that I'm going to be doing, contributing my impact for youth. And then 2020 came along, and I'm interacting with all these different youth in the back end, right? Global pandemic, everybody's online. That's the only way to communicate. Well, for most of us on this side of the world. And yeah, because there's some people meeting in person and stuff were not significantly impacted. So I'm interacting with many youth, like that became like a common theme. And then I find myself coaching and giving some feedback, making some suggestions. And what really stood out to me, it's like the eagerness. They're very motivated. All they need is the resources that is the right resource to help them go from point A to B, and also reliable mentors who are, it's just about this youth. It doesn't matter what I get from it. It's not about what's in it for me, but it's what is in it for that youth. And that's the intentions I moved with. And I didn't do it alone. Like the first, so we ran two cohorts. So we did 2 years back to back and a mentorship program that lasted for about 10 months. And so I brought in educators, coaches, consultants in my community who I trust. Like I would trust with like my baby, with a book that I haven't published out yet. And so I brought them in, and there's about 28 youth who graduated from this youth mentorship program. And what happened from there, they were able to support themselves within the program. There were some youth who started nonprofit, Some of them enhance what they were working on. Either it's a business idea, or they're like, okay, I can go and fundraise for my schooling. So, and again, it's that empowerment to take control of their lives and not blaming other people. So that's kind of like what stemmed off. And then as I do more research, I'm seeing the need and reading about the lack of opportunities for youth, especially with a relationship with a mentor who is, it's about that youth, what is in it for that youth. Like, it's a one way, not about the other way around, right? So right now we have a board. So I'm super excited about that. It's a very big deal. And I'm very honored that, these members in my community and that I know and trust are like, okay, Rasie, we're going to join you on this cause. And also our board members are very passionate about youth, contributing to our youth professional development in our community. And so we serve 80% of our youth in BC, and then 20% is across the world. So I'm really, really excited to, launch like more of our programs and impact more youth in our community, and they're able to go back into their community and contribute what they've learned and, keep the ripple effect going.
Totally. So which ages, like what age, what is the ideal age when we said,
Yeah.
like my kid is
Mhm.
11, right? So he is
Yeah.
at that weird age that
Mhm.
the children's section
Yeah.
doesn't fit anymore, but the adult section is too adult. And so it's
Yeah.
like at this time it's weird for us to shop even for clothes. So
Mhm.
what what is that
Yeah.
separation between children and adult? Or like what is the ideal age?
Yeah. That's a really great question. It's 15 to 29 years old.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
will you consider lower that down because we
Yeah.
11 years old don't have a lot to fit on, I can tell you.
Maybe we'll have to create a program like a get the requisite in before going into the other programs for the
Like
15
the
to 29.
pre something, they'll be
Yeah,
so amazed by
that's a
that.
great idea. Yeah.
I was very interested when you said it's a lot, like they are eager to understand. And then, I always hear people like saying things which I don't agree by at all, but like the younger generations, the older times were better. We were better kids when we were kids, and we were better young when we were young. But we don't give that opportunity, like in what you're saying. And then having that voice, someone like you
Mhm.
that comes and says, they're eager, they want to. It's
Mhm.
very important because then we are knocking down all those mental things that
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
times were better. And
Mhm.
then we normally, as we advocate for diversity and
Mhm.
equality and equity and all
Mhm.
those terms, that's one of the things that we want to have
Mhm.
people from all ages, all genders, all races, everything put
Mhm.
together in a pot and then
Yeah.
mixing it really well so we have a really good product.
Mhm.
So how is this, can you perhaps get a little bit more in depth into that concept?
Mhm. So the one sentence I always hear from all the youth who have participated in our programs is, "You believed in me."
Oh,
That
that's
and
good.
that's huge, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't take it lightly when I hear that. And even for us adults, like that's all that we need is for somebody to believe in what what we're doing, and that idea that we're like, okay, this is what I need, right? And most of the youth who participate in this program are already doing work within their community. That's what like inspires me the most, right? They didn't wait for somebody to tell them like, "Oh, go and do this." They're already doing it because they see the need. They know that they need to take action because that's their future, right? And now when I come into the picture, I'm enhancing and I'm giving them new skills, like new tools that they can use. And I'm also giving them access, like through my network of incredible people within my network. Um, I I watched this. I'm forgetting the name of the TED Talk. I watched it before strategic planning. We're doing at the I'm on the board for at the Chamber of Commerce for on the Sunshine Coast. And so we watch these like videos to get ready for a strategic planning session. And in this video, it's unfortunate I'm forgetting the name, but this gentleman walked into this office and they do like marketing. I believe that was along the lines, but I'm going to get to like the main point, the juicy part. And this gentleman walked in and he sat with this other person that was working at that office. They sat together for 2 hours, him sharing about his idea to him. And he walked away and he said to him, "Thank you for believing in my idea." And basically, the concept is within our community, we need that person that is like, "Yes, I believe in you," even if we don't understand the idea, right? If we don't understand what that person's need is, but just holding that space and listening, it is such a big deal. And the other thing too, like even with the youth who are participating in the program, I gave them 15 minutes every couple weeks just to talk, right? Not even
Mhm.
about professional development, just to be that person that holds space. And it's quite powerful. But I think that belief is where it stems from, where there's a lot of possibilities that can come through.
What a powerful way. Um, and then holding a space, it is really one of the things that we forget to do as adults, right? Is like
Mhm.
how many times have we been here, but then thinking on the report, the dinner, the 3 million things that we have to do, and we are not present, and that can transpire.
Mhm.
Whether if we are here present right now, it is we are getting the most out of this moment, which is the only thing we have.
Mhm. Mhm.
By the way,
Yeah.
so it is amazing to see how that revalidation comes even in this group of age, because
Mhm.
we know it for certain in kids, right? When you play with the kids and then we give that time that is you're not thinking about anything. And then I remember a story here.
Yeah.
There was this mom that is playing with the little kid and they're doing glitter in the kitchen. And then all she is thinking is like, how am I going to clean this glitter if it goes down into the carpet? Because we all know how bad that is to clean that thing,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So she is like doing the activity and let's put the glitter here, and then not really enjoying it because she was so stressed about how can she clean the glitter after.
Mhm.
And they went to the grocery store later on that day. They had a car accident. The child passed.
Oh.
And the last thing she spent the moments with the child was, how am I going to clean the glitter? And then without thinking, never again I'm going to do glitter in
Mhm.
my life
Yeah.
because that happened. So is that coming back to here we
Mhm.
are.
Mhm.
We have this beautiful moment that you and I
Mhm.
are here.
Yeah.
Like probably you have 3 million other things to do,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but you're dedicating this time to us, to our audience, and that's why I'm so grateful to have that opportunity to share without divided attention with
Yes.
people that come to the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. Like when you talk about being present and here now, I feel called to share this. Like something that I practice a lot is put in what needs to happen within my calendar. Like literally, sometimes it's like in a 1 minute increment. Because like the more stuff I store up here, the less I am present when I'm having this conversation with you right now. But I
Mhm.
know that everything that I need to do, it's in a safe place. Like it's gonna pop up at some point when it needs to happen. and I'm going to be right here.
And that's a really good tip, because a lot of people are like, oh my, I have this and I have that. And maybe
Mhm.
that's one of the ways people can use technology to
Yes.
help themselves get organized and
Mhm.
achieve things,
Mhm.
while at the same time being present in the moment. Amazing. So that is on the youth side. Now,
Yeah.
how you said early on that everything relates to everything and each
Oh,
other.
yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally.
So how can this relate to, let's say, leadership in teamwork?
Yeah. So I, on my, like, everything I put out, like with content that I post, books that I've written, workshops that I do, self leadership is at the foundation of everything that I do. It's, I'm an advocate for that. I know what is possible through self leadership. I am an example for that. My clients who I work with are examples for that. It is more sustainable when we start with ourselves. So how it's all connected for me, like when I go back in time, I'm a very curious person and very observant of like what is happening around me. And I developed this habit of going inwards. The moment when I find myself about to make an assumption or I'm about to judge someone, because we're wired to judge people, like it's like instant, right? So I take that opportunity to remind myself, let's go inward. How is this connected to me? What is the opportunity here for me to learn, right? As I'm jumping to judge or describe that person based on what I see at the surface, right? Judging the book by its cover. And so in when I was working at Vancouver International Airport, it was either there or McDonald's. I observed like a common theme of leaders showing up differently depending on who's in that environment. What is happening in their environment around them, right? Like either it's like temperature or the noise or clutter or whatever that may look like, and then also what's happening within, right? What are my personal struggles I'm going through right now? What are those challenges that I'm facing, adversities and all that stuff, like from within? And I saw that they showed up differently. Either they're lashing out at their, the team they're working with, or they were being quiet because they're upset of whatever they're going through. Or let's say they get super busy, for example, at the airport. It's busy season and people just like become a different person because they're like, this is chaos. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. And running around all over the place. And then also it's like who is in the room, right? Is that somebody in here from corporate, from the head office visiting? Are we acting and performing a different way? So when I observed this and I saw a common theme with two different companies I worked at, I went home and looked in the mirror. How was I showing up, right? If I'm observing these leaders doing it, and these are leaders who I've worked with for many years, how was I showing up? So I started with myself. And then another thing that really activated that as well is one of my assistant managers who I was working with at the time said to me, Rasie, in the last like couple months, I don't know how you're gonna be showing up. I don't know if you're gonna be sad or you're gonna be like short with us or you're gonna be happy. It's like different every time. That was such a blessing in disguise because I it really gave me the opportunity to check myself before coming into to the store. And then the other thing that I develop, like this is a lot like with self leadership, is communicating what is happening for me right now within, right? Letting my team know, letting my boss know I'm coming in at 5 today, because and I don't need to tell you what's going on, but this is where I'm coming in. And this also encourages my team to be transparent and open with how they're coming in. And then everybody else on the team is able to pick up where they can, right? And that's where the team works together. So with discovering that for myself in the mirror, And I started to build on key elements, like being clear on my goals, working on my emotional intelligence, and raising my self-awareness, knowing what are my strengths, what are things I'm not good at that I need to delegate or learn about because I need to be the one doing this specific task. And then also with conflict management, how do I see it, and how do I go about it? Is it with love and respect for the other person? So, and one thing about self leadership, it's a journey. It's not something that you get 110% right now. It is a process. There's a lot of learning as long as we're open to it. And the best way is like through the relationships that are closest to us. I
Mhm.
will pause there because I could keep going forever on self leadership.
But that is a couple of things that I picked up is what moved you to be in the position you are in right now wasn't perhaps something pleasant. Wasn't someone saying, "Hey, you're shiny, you're doing an amazing job, kudos to you," and the pat in the back is someone saying, "Hey, I see this and I don't know how you're gonna take it, but this is
Mhm.
how I feel it." And then you having the ability to say, okay, this will be my opportunity to be better. So I know feedback sometimes. I work with leaders a lot,
Mhm.
especially technical leaders. And then the ego comes in a lot of the times, very so present. And it's
Yeah, unfortunately.
so
Yeah.
unfortunate because it really enhanders their ability to be better.
Mhm.
Not only leaders, but better humans in an overall.
Yeah.
Um, so, what are some, like, how, and perhaps it was for you natural, but was that something, maybe there is someone in the audience saying, okay, when they say something to me, perhaps they don't want to hurt me and I can look at it in a different way? Was that something that I'm just looking maybe for a tip to someone that is listening to
Mhm.
us and saying, okay, I know that, yeah, that's me. I don't like feedback, but then how can I take it in a better way um, if I am
Mhm.
facing feedback?
Mhm. It really depends on, I'm thinking of a few. So first thing, like the first question I would ask is, do they want to grow? Right? So if somebody is in a comfort zone, they're in a role where they're comfortable and they're like, I'm the expert, I'm good at this. I I I don't want to grow, because some people don't want to grow. They just want to stay in the comfort zone, and which is like that's what they want, right? And so that's the first thing. Are they open to growth? And the second thing is like, how is this affecting the people who look up to them? Right?
Mm,
I find that leadership, like when you're leading, either it's like consciously or subconsciously, there are people looking up to you. There are people who are being inspired by you. You're influencing their actions that you're taking. If you're not receiving feedback right now, think of let's say 100, just to amplify how important this is. 100 people are like, I am not going to take any feedback, right? I'm comfortable where I'm at. And then down the road, we have all these open spots of, where there's not no effective leaders in these roles, because we can't grow without feedback. And we can give ourselves feedback, but sometimes there's always the blind spots. Like one thing I always say to my coach, I'm like, I come to you so that you can show me my blind spots. There are things
mhm,
I don't see, and you can see it by like asking me questions and helping me through. So I think it's like, are you open to growth, and how do you see the feedback? That's probably like the third thing I can think of is, do you see it as an opportunity, or do you see it as this person is coming at you, right? Because sometimes, unfortunately, there's some leaders who take it out on people by giving constructive feedback because they're in a bad mood or upset about something. And they're like, okay, let me go tell them all the things that they're doing they're not good at. So, this other person who's receiving it, you need to ask yourself, do you want the opportunity to grow or not? And if it's a not, that's a whole other question. That's like a coaching session or training or whatever that is. Yeah.
It does, and it puts things into perspective. And one of the things, for example, that I can relate, especially on the technical side, is it's okay if people don't want to grow,
Mhm.
and it's okay if they just want to be what they are at because maybe it's not their time yet. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that the whole career will be like that, but at this time they are okay with what they're doing.
Mhm.
But then something that you said earlier is having that clear communication and
Yes.
saying, hey, you know what, I really wanted to do this, but now I am kind of in a mood that I need to be for 3 months just being doing this, and then I
Mhm.
can come back at it later on or whatever. But being transparent
Yes.
about your situation, and that the whole concept of self is like parenting, right? I come back to parenting a lot because
Yeah.
if you like, your children are your representatives out there. It's like you don't want them to, you don't want them to rob, then don't rob. You don't want them to lie, don't lie.
Yeah.
Like I can say to my kid, don't lie because I don't lie to you. Why are you going to lie to me? And he knows
Mhm.
I mean that, and he knows that it's truth. So it's very
Mhm.
transparent in that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that ability, but it's just transparency. It's getting used to the
Mhm.
idea that it's okay to be vulnerable, and
Yeah.
it's okay to say, hey, kid, I don't have it all figured out. I'm your mom, but
Mhm.
I haven't figured it all out. Let's
Yeah.
figure it together. What
Yeah.
are your ideas? How can you do it? And maybe then you together, that will make you closer,
Mhm.
And that's been my
Collaborate.
experience.
Mhm.
Totally, totally. And it's the same
Mhm.
with your team. Like if you
Mhm.
have something happening at home that it's in like it has an effect on what you're doing that day at work, but you have to be there, then other people can come and help. And I
Mhm.
have learned that with my team all the time. It's like, hey, I just had this happening, can someone help on doing this and that, because that's
Yeah.
important. Everything else I can deal with before, later on,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
need 2 or 3 things that can
Yeah.
someone, and it's always someone wanting to pick up. It's amazing, it's like
Yeah.
we are so afraid of, oh my god, how am I gonna they gonna look at me,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, you're just human. It's like you're a
Mhm.
boss, you're a little leader, but you're still human, so that's okay.
Yes.
What can I help you with?
Exactly. Exactly. There's one thing that comes to mind as you share an example of you and your son. It's what are the things that we're doing when somebody's not watching, right? Like that's another thing for me, like with self leadership. It's if I say, okay, I'm going to get up at this time and do journaling, right? This is an example. I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to journal before I interact with anybody else. And I'm saying it, but I'm not doing it. Or maybe I do it because there are people around in the house or whatever that is. But I think it's when we say, okay, I'm leading myself, it's are you doing it for you or are you doing it for other people? Because I firmly believe that it starts with like us doing it for ourselves. And it is a process. Like it's and again, it's like it kind of goes back to that clarity of like what is it that I want, like we're talking about, like the leader who is comfortable and doesn't want feedback. It's like what is the need there, right? Like what is it that I want for myself?
Totally. And that comes down to everything in our lives, right? Like we always are, for example, someone wants advice on health, and we are like, oh, you should eat healthier then if you're having this problem.
Mm.
But are you doing it, right? It's like
Yeah.
do what I say, not what I do. That's the say. So it's,
Yeah.
but once I started, and I learned that lesson very late in my life,
Mhm.
and I would have avoid a lot of things that happened to me if I would have applied concepts like this earlier on. But definitely, the moment that I started giving myself the place that I deserve, everything changed. The moment that I decided I want to be, I don't know, healthier. I don't have to say you should be healthier. No, people that are healthier
Yeah.
already come around. Like
Yes.
this podcast is because we are in the same level of sharing, wanting a better world, doing something
Yes.
without anyone telling us. It's already we are doing it because we believe it is what we should be doing. So instead of chasing things, it's you start attracting. And that is like in 10 years ago, you would have said that to me and I would like, yeah, of course. Show me the graph. Show me the graph. What is the data that supports that? But it's, it's amazing how it is truth. And then the more that the ripple effect that you're creating with the teams that you work with the youth, with this and with the books and everything, it's really there. So kudos to you for everything that you are doing, for everything that you are.
Thank you, Monica.
We are like, I know it is, I told you before we started, I normally get excited and then I wish I had like 3 days. But we are at the last section. And then here is where I ask you, I'm gonna ask you a question that I haven't asked in a long time. What will you say to your younger self if you had a time machine and you were able to go back, let's say, and talk to yourself? What would you say to you?
Wow. Yeah. There's the one sentence that I actually have said to myself my whole life. It's, you got this. So I say it in I write it in a form where, so it's either I got this or you got this. It depends on the context. So, and then the other thing that comes to mind, and really when I think of my third book that's coming out, it's, this trauma you're going through is not forever. It will end.
Everything passes.
It does. It does. That's probably something that I would say, because I found it out like later on. I was like, oh, okay, another one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. But definitely, like even on my T-shirt, I have in the back, it says, "You got this."
Oh yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a beautiful question, and it got me thinking further out. Thank you, Monica.
No, my pleasure. So now what will be your last message for our audience on material business? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so I'm actually for the book coaching part of my services. I am launching a group book coaching program this fall. And the goal is to make it more affordable for writers, because I know like that's a challenge. I've experienced it. And also to make it not isolating when you're going through the writing process of writing your book and publishing. And so I am hosting info sessions. I'm not sure when this episode will be out, but I'll be hosting info sessions all the way till September the 15th before the program launches. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me, Monica. It's really, really an honor and a pleasure.
Oh, it's amazing to have you. Thank you for coming, for sharing all your knowledge. I feel that we are very connected, and I hope that people in the audience will feel related, and they also understand that it is sometimes, and we were talking about this before starting, like sometimes it feels lonely, and it doesn't have to.
Mm-mm.
So there is wonderful people like you out there doing amazing things, and they can reach out and have a conversation just like this conversation, and they'll be inspired, or they'll have a space that we can hold for them.
Yes.
Amazing.
Amen.
Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna put all the links down below,
Thank
and
you.
to the audience, thank you for making us grow, for sharing, for showing us your love, your support. We are very appreciative, and we'll see you in another episode.